Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. This coming Monday, I'll have the pleasure of presenting the awards to 119 modern apprentices who will have completed their learning at ITCA training in my constituency in disciplines including mechanical engineering, fabrication, welding, business and administration and logistics operation management. I think that the commitment of this government to modern apprenticeships goes without saying, given the fact that we are now seeing 25,000 per annum being delivered, in fact more than that target being delivered, with a new target of 30,000 by 2020, and that if you look within those figures, 80% of modern apprenticeship starts in 2014-15 were aged 16 to 24, so it's predominantly young people being given those opportunities to develop skills and access employment. Locally as well in Aberdeen, the Press and Journal newspaper has launched a 100 Apprentices in 100 Days campaign. I was advised by ITCA training that they're about to graduate 119 in one day, but I think the 100 Apprentices in 100 Days is an important campaign because it is about highlighting the value of apprenticeships across the economy of the North East of Scotland and giving companies the opportunity to reflect on what they can do to support more young people through apprenticeship opportunities. Beyond that, one of the views that is often held about the North East of Scotland is that it is an area of high employment, low unemployment, and the statistics do bear that out. There are, however, still those individuals within the North East of Scotland who do require support to access employment opportunities, and often one of the difficulties, certainly in the past, and still to some extent current, created by having a buoyant industry which can afford to pay a higher rate than other sectors, is that some of those sectors face difficulties in recruiting. With that in mind, over the last couple of years, I've held 2 jobs fairs in the constituency. One which was a more general jobs fair, which had employers from across a range of different sectors, and one just last week, which was focused specifically on the care sector. And the care sector has been mentioned a lot in today's debate. And what was interesting was the differential in terms of attendance at those 2 events. While there were still attendances at both events and organisations who attended were positive about the events, it was noticeable that there was less of an attendance at the jobs fair specifically related to the care sector. And I think part of that comes down to a perception issue that exists, which I think we need to have some careful consideration how we get around that, about the kind of work and quality of work that is available within the care sector. Often a misperception and a misconception about what working in the care sector actually involves. So there is perhaps a job of work to be done to ensure that these sectors are given the opportunity to promote the very valuable work that is available within them and the strong opportunities that exist. I've met with local companies to discuss living wage accreditation. I hear from my colleagues about their efforts to become accredited living wage employers, and I guess I'd better get my act together on that and lead by example, so I'd better get myself accredited as a living wage employer as well. But one of the things I noted from a parliamentary answer that was received from the Scottish Government is that while absolutely it is fantastic that we have so many accredited living wage employers, if you look at the percentage of the population who are assumed to be being paid above the living wage, there are so many more companies out there who are paying their employees above the living wage but have not yet taken that step to become accredited living wage employers. And I think one of the things that I want to seek to do is to try and promote to those companies the benefits that come from becoming an accredited living wage employer, and the message that that sends out to both the workforce now and the potential future workforce for those companies. In terms of the other issues pertaining to employment in the North East, one of the issues that's been spoken about is the Wood Commission report, the Developing the Young Workforce. Aberdeen and the North East of Scotland has been an early adopter in that area, and the Developing Young Workforce team is being led by Aberdeen and Grampian Chamber of Commerce alongside both Aberdeen City and Aberdeenshire Councils and North East Scotland College. That work is designed specifically to look at how we make easier the transitions for young people through the education system into the workforce, and very much looking at the kind of approaches that Ian Gray was highlighting, and something which, you know, I don't think that we would necessarily be reinventing the wheel. In a lot of council areas, they are looking very carefully at the senior phase of school and how that can be perhaps redesigned in order to better complement what young people will go on to, both in terms of further, but also higher education as well, and trying to make those transitions and those links a little bit more seamless. One of the other areas which we face a difficulty in the northeast of Scotland is around the teaching workforce, and there is obviously a teaching summit taking place today to talk about how we can attract more teachers to come and locate in the northeast of Scotland. And I think one of the areas where perhaps we could look is through the work of the Energy Jobs Task Force that is currently being done, because there will probably be a number of individuals amongst those in the oil and gas sector who are currently facing potential of redundancy, who will have STEM graduate qualifications, who may be suitable for retraining into the teaching profession and could then take on some of those STEM teaching roles which are currently proving difficult to fill in the northeast of Scotland. Again, I don't think it takes too much of a... I say I'm beyond 6 minutes, but I'll be at the presiding officer's discretion.
I could give you a little bit of time back if you wish to take an intervention.
I'm happy to take the intervention from Ian Gray on that.
Ian Gray.
I agree with the idea of trying to get people to retrain as STEM teachers, but it remains the case that if somebody chooses to retrain as a physics teacher in England, they will receive £25,000 in a tax-free bursary. That's not available in Scotland. Would it not be a good thing if it was?
Mark McDonald.
I think committing to such things is way above my pay grade, but I think we do need to, but in fairness, I do think we need to look very carefully at the opportunities that are made available for individuals to retrain in teaching, because one of the things that often does put people off retraining is the possibility of a year without pay, and how can we better transition in that area? Perhaps one of the ways that's being looked at by some local authorities is to offer part-time teacher training courses, which allow for people to do that training without having to give up work necessarily. So there are a number of ways we need to look at in order to improve the uptake of teacher training. I think I'll leave it at that, Presiding Officer. There were a couple of points raised in the debate which I think probably merit some closer examination in terms of what some of the allegations the opposition are making. But it's, on the whole, it's been a fairly consensual debate, and I would hate to ruin that tone. All I will say is that I think the Scottish Government should be commended for the work it's doing around apprenticeships, around the living wage, and I think we do have to talk up more the work that's being done to boost both employment opportunities and also employment performance in Scotland.